Hello and very warm welcome to Dr. Ahmed YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. The poem title is going to be Annabel Lee. Annabel Lee, that is the title of the poem, and as the title can be the name of a person as well, so it seems to be hinging upon the name of this person, and that is definitely a girl. And so if there is the girl's title, then definitely could be some waves about love as well. So this is a type of love poem, and that we shall be discussing today. This is again by Edgar Allan Poe, and I have already recorded one video where some background of Poe was given, and here we should only know that Poe is an American poet. He is very successful, he is very popular among the Americans, and he has earned a great respect as a short story writer as well as a poems writer, and his poems are simple, modern, and easy to understand, carry sometimes the classical themes and sometimes they are 100% modern. So here is the poem Annabel. I shall be discussing with you first of all with respect to the stanzas which are given here, and later on we can talk about the artistic, stylistics aspects of the poem. The first stanza of the poem is: it was many, many years ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. The ending line first, that the line goes to show that there was a love matter between the narrator of the poem and Annabel herself. They both were in love with each other, and the narrator is telling that she was so innocent and pure girl that she didn't have any other idea in her mind other than loving him. The poem begins with the very storytelling type of style, that there was a long, long time ago that something happened, that there was a girl who lived beside the sea, and she was, the name was Annabel Lee, and she was the person who was all the time in her thought, in his thought also, and this girl loved him very well. So love poem, story-like manner, and in this way the poet begins the first stanza. The second stanza of the poem says: I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with the love that was more than love, and I and my Annabel Lee, with the love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. The poet begins the second stanza by telling that this love was not the new love, it was the love started from their childhood. When the girl was a child and he was a child, they started to love each other, and they longed for the company of each other. They were living on the side of the sea, and there was no problem in their life, and they were loving each other, and in that way they were continuing to enjoy the love of each other. There was always love with them. They were all the time happy with love. And even the poet says that the angels of heaven, they would look at them and enjoy their love, and they would become envious why they couldn't have love of that type. Though they were the pure creatures, there cannot be any type of doubt in their love for any person, anything, or any deity. But still, the poet says that their love was so pure that these angels felt envious. And the third stanza says, and this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of her cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The third stanza is the very shift in the idea that first of all the love was there, but later on the love was killed and the death came to Annabel Lee. The poet takes the indication of nature that somewhere in the cloud there was the air that blew, and it was so cold air it descended down and killed his beloved Annabel Lee. And she was then taken away by her relatives, and these relatives put her into sepulchre, that means the grave, and since that time she is in the grave, and he is the one left alone by the kingdom of the sea. So this stanza represents the loss, the death, and the end of love, not in the sense of the love which the poet has for him, but the matter which has started in the first two stanzas that has finished. Next the poet says, fourth stanza, the angels not half so happy in heaven went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the clouds by the night, chilling and killing my Annabel. The next stanza also repeats the same thing, and the poet, however, says that all the heaven, all the people, all the angels were sad at the death of this girl, and only love matter was there, and everybody knew that it was not the kind of disease which happened, but rather it was the cloud in the night time which sent chilling and killing waves, and Annabel was killed. Next stanza says, but our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. The poet therefore says that it was not possible for any creature above living in the skies or any creatures living down into the earth, that they should separate them. They could separate them physically, but they couldn't separate them at all, mentally and spiritually. So the love was there, and that love survived. And this love was very strong as compared to the love which they had, even at that time when they were living beings. When she is dead, even at that time, the poet is having very strong love for that girl. It ends, the last stanza ends the poem by saying, for the moon never beams without bringing my dream or the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. The last stanza, the poet is telling, that the narrator is saying, that never his life was complete without that. When she was alive or when she is dead. No, when she is dead, his dreams do not complete without looking at the things which he did. And his stars cannot complete, his nights cannot complete unless he remembers the eyes, twinkling eyes of that girl. And so all the night tide I shall lie by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea. Imaginatively speaking, the narrator says that he would go and lie down by the side of that girl in the sepulchre, in the grave, which is situated by the side of the sea, and spend the night there. In her tomb by the sounding sea, she says that her tomb is situated on the side of the sea, where the sound of the sea can also be listened. So that is the poem where the poet is talking about the love matter. We can also compare this poem with many other love poems, but first remaining with this poem, what it is all about. It's a kind of story, the love story, or the ballad we can say, divided into 6 stanzas. And in that 6 stanzas, first of all, the profit, the benefit, the fascination of love is talked about, and later on the same love turns into harmful, loss and pain. First the enjoyment and the pleasure is there, and later on it is turned into something painful. This perhaps is the story of love all the time, that first of all it seems to be very attractive, very useful, very beneficial, very pleasurable, enjoyable, but later on death involves there, or some separation involves there, the grief comes, and that grief makes the life of the people difficult. First the love was that where the angels even were envious, and later on the death has caused to the narrator that he has to go into the grave in order to meet her, though imaginatively, and his nights and days could not be complete without her, and he couldn't sleep even without the thought of that girl. So that is the kind of pain and grief under which he is going on. So this is the summary of the poem, and this poem is 100% representation of love, which possibly can be among the human beings, and the theme of therefore love is quite visible here. This was also happening in the poem La Belle Dame Sans Mercy, that first of all it was the beauty of love which both the people enjoyed and lived together, but later on the separation occurred, and that love became a sort of pain for them. This thing has been happening in all the love stories almost, because until and unless fulfillment is there, love remains there, and that love continues to stretch itself at that time when there is no fulfillment, when there is separation, when somebody among them dies. At that time the love remains there. So all the love stories, even in this South Asia, we read that, we can find that there was no fulfillment and the love was there. Same is the case here, that love couldn't survive, couldn't stay. It stayed only in the mind of the narrator, otherwise the physical love had died at that very moment. Now we can also go further into the poem by looking at that in the poem there are many assonances devices which have been used. For example, the I sound or the A sound in the lines like, and this maiden she lived with no other thought. This maiden she lived, and then with no other thought. All assonances, sounds of the walls have been repeated. Imagery has been used by the poet, as for example, Kingdom by the Sea, and that is chilling and killing air. In that way, some of the imagery is also present there. Alliteration is again and again made in the poem by repeating the sounds of love and loved. And then, for example, the line is there, but we loved with love that was more than love. 3 times the word love's there. So that is why alliteration of the sounds and the words is also there. Some of the symbolism has also been used in the sense of the stars and then the moons and the darkness of the night. symbol of the evil, and the stunning and beauty. A stunning beauty is shown in the form of the girl, and then it's shown in the form of the stars and the moon as well. The poem has some allusions also. It's alluding towards the angels which are mentioned in the Bible, the seraphs in heaven, that is giving some type of allusion there. Enjambment is also the continuity of sentences given in the poem, then loved me to be loved by me. So in that way, there are some of the aspects of the poem. Then if we talk about the stanzas of the poem, there are 6 stanzas, and they have variable length, they are not the same one. And in the same way, when this is the case that the stanzas are not the same, the rhyme scheme could also be problematic, but most of the rhyme scheme has been seen as AB, AB, and CB. This is the type of rhyme scheme which has been seen in the poem stanzas. There is the rhyme scheme that's very much established in these stanzas as well. Repetition takes place of certain words again and again. Annabel Lee, for example, the name is repeated. Kingdom by the sea, it is repeated again and again. So that is called repetition. Certain refrain phrases have also been used. That is kingdom by the sea, of the beautiful Annabel, etc. So in this way, the poem has got many stylistic aspects in that as well. Now we can, in the end, say that this poem represents the kind of love story which has all the time 2 aspects. One is the bright, love, beneficial, blissful aspect, but the second aspect can be most of the time grievous. So in this way, the students can write the critical appreciation of the poem by first of all introducing the poet, then writing the summary of the poem, and later on discuss each stanza with its different types of aspects, and ultimately you can talk about the stylistic aspect of the poem, and in the end of the conclusion give your opinion that the poem is good or it is not good. In my opinion, this is a love poem, and as far as the love matter is concerned, this is 100% beautiful, very well written, very well represented, simple language poem, and conveys the idea. Perhaps one can relate it with the death of the wife of the poet in the near timing of 1849 when this poem occurred. So that is why some kind of affiliation with the poet himself can also be present. But overall, this poem is going to be the poem which is 100% a love poem. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next other video.